Regular meeting of the city council to order. First item of business is mayor and city council member reports. Councilman Allen, do you have anything to report?
Nothing.
All right. Councilman Claire.
Couple things. We were able to attend the Shindig, which the Mavericks put on, another great event they had out there. And it's just see that grow and the work that the West Valley Mavericks are doing to help support the West Valley and what they're doing. They've come a long way and really appreciate what they're doing with that. Today I was at the formerly the Southwest Valley Chamber. That's changed into the West Regional Chamber. The rebranding of what they've done, and they added Surprise as the sixth city member to the Chamber of Commerce. So they've got some good growth and some good opportunities for the cities to continue to work together economically. So it's good to see, and good to see all the mayors and other people out there for it.
Thank you. Councilman Frazier, would you like to make a report?
Here, I'll make a quick report. First, I'd like to apologize for my absence from the State of the City. I did, prior to the State of the City event, inform the city manager, but I did not call the attendance line that morning, as I did for my son when he was sick this morning from school. I was attending my parents' 40th anniversary out of state. So I apologize to city staff, rest of the council for not making my absence known to any of the citizens that were there. I did watch it on YouTube. I want to commend city staff, mayor for a great presentation. I am a new council member, but I can read my calendar. So I'll make sure that I'm at these events going forward and make sure that anybody else knows that I'm, when I'm not going to be there. The videos that Chuck Emmert has put together, the voice of Litchfield Park, really show how special this community is. And that was a great way to lead off the meeting. We have a lot in front of us over the next few years, as demonstrating that presentation. And I'm very excited to work on it.
Great, thank you. Councilman James, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No report, sir.
Councilman Brainerd Watson.
I likewise was out of town, but I sent a message to be shared. I just wanted to thank the people for giving me the opportunity to serve as a member of the council. We've got a lot going on, and it's an exciting time to be involved. And I also watched it afterwards. Thank you very much for filming it. In terms of activities, I think we reported last time on the Art and Wine Festival. I did attend that. It was really well attended. And it was nice to be able to enjoy our new beautiful facility. And I commend the staff who put all of that together because they did a fabulous job. And I am currently out of state. I apologize, but I have a family obligation as well. So thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned before, I drove around the Litchfield Park Art and Wine Festival, looking at the parking issues and the crowds, and I was pretty astonished at how busy it was and how it looked like a very successful event. So I hope everybody else was happy with it. State of the City, the staff did a great job putting that together, and the mayor did a great job of following the staff's guidance with this presentation. I stopped by the Recreation and Public Grounds Orange Tree painting kind of organization just to see what was going on with that Saturday and Sunday. A lot of volunteers, a lot of enthusiasm from the community. And I've heard great things about the Litchfield Park Citizens Academy. I'm not sure what we call it, but I attended one in Avondale many years ago. It was a fun experience. And so I've heard some of Matthew speaking and the mayor speaking, and seems to be very well received. So good job. That's it.
All right, thank you. I want to start by thanking the staff once again. I've sent the staff thank you notes, but I want to thank them again for the job they did on the State of the City. It was very well put together presentation. The food was excellent. I think everything about the presentation was done well this year, and I want to thank you for a great job. I also want to let staff know that I've received multiple comments from residents who went to the arts, the Wine and Art Festival. They thought the new venue was fantastic. It gave them a lot more room to move around. It was just a lot more convenient, and they commented on how good the music was using using that little area we have for putting on music itself. So good job on putting that together. With that, I'm going to go on to the city manager's report on current events.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council, my reports in your packet. As always, I welcome you if you have any questions. I had a few other thank yous, but you guys beat me to them. Thank you for the vice mayor's comment about the orange tree event. It was a great event. Thank you for all the attendees that were there. I think that's a fun event. People seem to like it. And thank you those of you as well that attend the Art and Wine Festival. And again, for staff, for all the work that goes in the state of the city. It seems to me every year that state of the city gets easier, and that's because of staff. It's doing it every year and polishing a little more. It seems like it gets a little better every time. And just thank everybody for all the work that goes into it. When something goes that well without a hitch, it's because of all the pre-planning. And again, thank you everybody that worked on that.
Okay, great. This brings us to this meeting's call of the community. It's an opportunity for individuals to address the council on either a non-agenda item or an item on the agenda that we don't take comment for individually. So we have a couple of comments for community comment call to the community. Carter Wilson's the first one.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. My name is Carter Wilson, 4705 North Brookview Terrace in the Greens. I wanted to comment on the date chosen for the community garage sale. Unfortunately, I will not be able to participate this year, which I was really looking forward to. I recognize that not all of our community are Christians, not all of them are religious even, but it's right in the middle of Holy Week. It's the end of Holy Week. It's the day before Easter. And I would ask in the future that staff consider the placement of Easter in placing the future garage sales. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. The next item is a request to speak. It's actually on an agenda item B3, but it's an item that we don't take individual comments for on that item, but we welcome you to make your comments through the call of the community. Mr. Barneycorn.
I was gonna wait for the engineer to complete this.
I'm sorry, what?
I was gonna wait for the engineer to complete his comments.
Yeah, it's not, the call of the community is not designed, or really comments from to the council is not designed for comments to a staff member report. So I'm happy to take your comments now, or you can make them later, I guess, at another meeting, but it's not here to foster debate between staff members and residents. Okay. So would you like to speak, or, wave? Okay. All right, so we'll go on with the presentation section of our agenda. First item is new employee introductions. Ms. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This evening, we have two employees or new hires. Connor Rich is not able to be here this evening. He had tickets to the Phoenix Suns game. We understand that. We have Morgan Hunter with us. Morgan, if you'd stand up. She is our HR assistant as well as our special events coordinator. So she holds a dual role. She reports to me and Trisha. I want to thank you, Morgan, for stopping in tonight, and her family is here also to acknowledge her. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is recognition of an employee who has continued her education and slaved hard and worked her fingers down to the very quick of the fingernails. And she has been awarded the prestigious designation as a certified municipal clerk. So Maria, if you would step up, we would appreciate that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Keep at it, yeah.
Maria's here.
Oh, yes, Terry's on. I think she wanted to comment. She's unmuted now.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to congratulate Maria on this. Apologies for not being there in person, but I'm sure you can appreciate me not sharing my germs with you.
Yes.
Now that she's completed her CMC, she's going to pursue her Master Municipal Clerk, which is an additional 2-year program. It's quite an accomplishment, and I'm very proud of her for achieving it. Congratulations again, Maria.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to our first report from Goodyear Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Ed Paul, Deputy Chief of the Goodyear Fire Department. I have the Fire Department activity report from February. Altogether, we ran 74 calls for service in Litchfield Park. 62 of them were EMS calls, with 7 of them being vehicle accidents and 2 cardiac arrests. 6 canceled en route, 1 check electrical, 2 hazardous conditions, 2 fire alarm malfunctions, and 1 aircraft standby. Our community response unit responded to 2 calls in Litchfield Park. 1 was an overdose and the other one was a cardiac arrest. Fire prevention, we did 5 occupancy inspections. The individual places that I usually report on, the Loma, had 10 total calls for service. 9 of those 10 were transported to the hospital. 2 of them were falls, and they were both transported. And 1 did not get transported because it was cardiac arrest. Hacienda, 4 total calls for service, 3 that were transported. 2 of those were falls, and both of those were transported.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have questions from the council? Thank you for your service to our community. We appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate the support.
Next item is a report from the Avondale Police Department. Sergeant Emmert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, the Sergeant Emmett, the Avondale Police Department. Gonna go over our stats here for the previous month. Calls for service, we had 465. That's total calls, officer and citizen generated there. We're about 75% officer, 25% citizen. Up significantly, we had 378 for the same month the year before. Most of that being officer driven, our main focus still being the traffic on Camelback and on Litchfield. Traffic stops, we had 132 of them compared to 55 from the same month the year before. Citations, we had 40 citations, up from just 7 the year before. And then as far as business checks, that stayed about the same. We had 107 compared to 102 for the month the year before. As far as some big calls for service, I know we had updated you guys last month with the bank robbery that we'd had at the bank inside Albertsons. And then we had a possible lead on it. We did make an arrest on that. So we were able to find the suspect on that and make an arrest on it a few weeks back. And then as far as this month, just this previous weekend, I'm sure people have heard about the person we had trespassing through some of the yards and such what there. We did make an arrest on that suspect as well.
Questions from
Just
council?
to clarify, is that what the helicopter was doing, circling?
Yes. So we had a person that was, we had multiple calls for some houses off, kind of Old Litchfield and Bird Lane and Estero, kind of in that area there. Suspect going through yards. So we had a helicopter that was circling around, some K9 units. We set up a perimeter. We didn't catch him that night, but he did end up stealing a vehicle, which is how we think he got out of the perimeter. We were looking for somebody hiding out or somebody on foot, but he had stolen a vehicle. And then the next day, when the vehicle was reported stolen, we ended up locating the vehicle with him still in it. And then the suspect actually admitted to his involvement and everything as well.
Is he under the influence of anything?
We believe so. We had an incident over by Papa Paul's right before that. and where he had left his car there. And we had some suspicious person calls, and in his car, the door was open with his ID in it. And that's kind of how we were able to ID him in the first place, to have a suspect, was because we used the video surveillance from Papa Paul's when he went inside, to the ID, to the registration, to the video surveillance of the people whose yards he was going through, to put it together. So we already had him as an investigative lead, but then finding him in the car the next day kind of tied it all together.
So you got from Papa Paul's all the way up to Bird Lane, it was running around there.
Correct. And that's why we think there might be some influence, because obviously he left his own car that was registered to him with his own ID on the seat and the car door open, so makes us think that he wasn't quite maybe planning anything, but maybe wasn't all together either.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. That's my neighborhood and that's my area of the neighborhood. As I said earlier, I was out of town this weekend. My neighbors called me. They said, you know, here's what's going on. You guys were around. You told my neighbors what was going on. So I just really like to thank the Avondale PD for your response that night. Certainly makes me feel better being out of town, knowing that you guys are there.
Councilman Claire.
Just a quick question. The flock alerts. It looks like we had 6 this past month and then no ability to locate the vehicles. Is there a delay from the time that you get the alert to the officers are notified?
No, there is no, it's a pretty quick response. It's probably within 1 to 2 minutes where they get the email and text alert. Sometimes it depends on where the officer's at compared to where the alert comes from. If they're on a call for service, if they're on a traffic stop, that they're not gonna drop everything they're doing. It's not a priority like right there, so that plays a part in it. And sometimes the location, if they're coming in at Old Litchfield and Indian School, there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Sure.
You know, before we can get over there. So sometimes it's a little bit of luck, and sometimes as far as where they're coming in at and what we have going on at that time with the officers.
Thank you.
I had just to let your guys know, I had gotten a couple calls from residents that interfaced with the Avondale Police while this incident was going on with the helicopter and the whatever. They were all impressed with how well your guys did and the service levels that were given, that they felt very comfortable that they were safe in their homes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you.
move on to the next item, which is a report on contamination. Do we have a report? Oh, we skipped finance. Do we have a report from finance?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There's a detailed finance report in your packet. There's nothing special or concerning I wanted to go over tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions from council? Okay, now we're going to the contamination report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The report for the BJ Plume and Luke Air Force Base are in your packets. Happy to entertain any questions or if you want to go over any aspects.
When do you think we're gonna start getting information from Luke on what they're finding?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have reached out to them several times. I think that they're busy because they've also got another dozen or so wells that they've installed in the north area north of Camelback and all the way up to the river bottom. So I think they're still in the process of installing several of them, and then they are going to start pulling the water out and analyzing them all at the same time. That's the impression I get.
So we don't have any idea when we're gonna start seeing results.
I don't think they have, we have not seen any sampling of our wells yet. So I don't think they've begun the process of pulling water out yet.
Okay? You have any other questions from council? You have a report on the capital improvement project.
Mr. Mayor, the report is in your packet. Go over all the CIP projects underway and future ones. If you have any questions or want to go over them.
Questions from council about any of the projects that were outlined in the report? Like that. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Next item is special projects, and we concluded special projects with capital improvement. No, we got a special project report. Okay. I didn't know we were gonna have you back up for special projects. Also, I should have read my agenda closer.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is presentation 2 of 5. I'd be happy to answer any questions on Litchfield Square, La Loma restoration, or the Thomas projects.
questions? Doesn't look like any.
Hearing none. Thank you.
How about, before you run off, what does it look like? What is your projection for completion of the special project up on the hilltop with the library and all the roundabouts and the roads and what's your projection?
Mr. Mayor, the Academy, the Performing Arts Center, the library, the museum, the phase one restoration will be done by August of next year, and I vacation in September of next year.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
No change there.
Magistrate court report is in your packet. If you have any questions, please get with the city manager. Brings us to the consent agenda, item 8A through D. Is there any member of council that wants to take any item off of the consent agenda? Mr. Vice Mayor.
B.
B, okay. Anything else from any council members? That is a motion to adopt items 8A, C and D. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, items 8A, C, and D are approved. Next item is to be considered, Mr. Vice Mayor, we'll go with 8B and the health insurance cost increase. Did you have a question on that or?
Well, I'd like more of an explanation. There's nothing in the packet that shows what we pay for health insurance, or what this income, there's just nothing in the packet. Can you give me some idea what this is all about?
Yes, sir, I can. Mr. Vice Mayor and Council, this is something we've been doing for the last several years. We can't afford to pay what the Valley cities do. We just can't compete as far as what they pay their employees, so we try to give better benefits. And this is one way we do that we recommend that we absorb the annual health insurance cost increase. That's what this is. For this year, it's proposed 4.5%, sir. For those of you that don't know this, I am the chairman of the Arizona Municipal Insurance Trust. I have been for some time. And every February, we vote on the insurance increase, whatever it may be, and there's a lot of negotiation on how much that is. If it's 4%, 6%, anyway. And for this year, it was 4.5. So that's where that comes from, Mr. Vice Mayor, as far as it's that percentage. The number is just that as an estimate, because we are going to be asking during the budget cycle to add a few more employees. So what that number comes from is the insurance and what our insurance costs today versus what the increase will be for next year. As far as specifics, Boris, I'd actually refer to Paige as far as, if you don't mind, Paige, put you on the spot there. As far as if there's any questions there, as far as the numbers go. Again, that's just the difference between this year's insurance cost and next year's insurance costs. There are some certainly unknown factors. May is open enrollment. An employee may choose to change plans. They may choose to go to the buy-up plan. They may choose to change to an HSA. All those affect, of course, what we pay for insurance, right? According to employee purposes. So that's very much just an estimate.
What do we pay 100% of employee and family, or what do we pay?
We're 80-20, right?
Depends what plan it is, but it's an average of 90%.
We pay 90%?
I can get the exact.
Is that family or employee or?
Well, let me just pull it up really quick. So I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Mayor and Council, while Paige is doing that. So how much those rates, as I would say, it's a lot of negotiation. For example, during COVID, I think it was 20 or 21, that it was either a 10 or 11% increase in one fell swoop. So it's generally somewhere around 4 to 6, but some years there are some huge outliers. And part of that, of course, too, is the reserves. Some of the other cities that are in the pool are Apache Junction, Paradise Valley, Guadalupe just joined, Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, and a lot of fire districts around the state. This is because a lot of the bigger cities are self-insured, but the smaller cities can't really do that. So we band together through the insurance trust for these purposes.
Okay, I have that now. Depending on the plan, one of our plans for employee only, the city pays 98%, for employee plus spouse, 93, employee plus children, 93.6, and employee plus family is 91.5. The other plans are in that ballpark. So a low of 89 to a high of 98.
We're paying 90+% of the insurance. what does a $35,000 additional we pay? It's peanuts.
It would be small. Yes, sir. It absolutely would be. Across the employees. That's correct. It would be. If it's something mayor and council would like to do, we could look at how much it would cost per employee. It's not something we have to decide today. The reason I put this on the agenda now is Paige, of course, is in the middle of budget planning. So this is something we need to plan for to try to give you guys accurate amounts. But again, if it's something you guys would like to look at to divide among the employees, we can.
Yeah, my suggestion is that we get a full breakdown of that, of employee benefits, including health, as part of the budget. And we can, that's a vehicle that if we're not happy with it, we can adjust it at that point.
And we could show that during the budget meeting. Other questions?
Other questions, comments? Nope. Is there a motion to, at least at this point, absorb the estimated $35,000 cost increase for health insurance with the notion that it's going to come back to us as we go through our budget?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Aye.
items adopted. Business, first item of business under 9 is A, approval of lease for the PW Litchfield Heritage Center. Any questions or discussion after hearing the presentation during work study?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Or just have that couched with the correction of the legal description.
What was that?
No, yeah.
Just have that motion couched with the correction of the legal description to.
Yeah, so we need the motion to be conditioned on a correction of the legal description, complete the outside renovation, including the grass by 7/1/26, and use the RFP process for restoration and renovation contracts.
Has that been discussed with Historical Society, those terms?
I believe they have been.
It has. And Mr. Mayor, we feel like we're already covered on the RFP as the language in the agreement today. But as far as the outside, that is not in the agreement. They are aware that was a concern. So we did discuss that might be an addendum tonight. That's why I put it in the presentation for just that reason.
I've been pushing to get this done since before we took that hit. To have the Historical Society go into that property. Happy we're getting someplace.
Yes, sir.
Moving right along.
Yeah. The speed of government.
So is it acceptable to the one who made the motion that those items be included in the motion?
Yes.
So how for the person second?
Yes.
You second? Yes, all right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We miss an item.
Aye.
What was that?
Aye.
Did we miss an item?
No,
To amend the employee position?
That was consent.
that was on consent.
No, consent, that's a consent, it was a consent item.
We're on business now on item A.
All right, that brings us to 9B. We have two requests to speak on item 9B. Which one is from Rocky Cacciola? Actually, three requests to speak.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, hello. And I know most of the people in this room. I don't know all of you. I am cheating here a little bit. I apologize. Using my cheat sheet here because I want to get all my points across. This is pretty important to me. I'm not on my couch, as most of you expect me to be, but I've lived and worked and been involved in this community, committed to this community in a variety of capacities for over 28 years. And again, I've worked with almost all of you in here, almost all the people that left. I'm very proud to say I worked on, where's Colin? Did Colin leave? We worked on the bathroom at his Camelback Park. That was one of my biggest achievements, the Colin Polycorn official bathroom. Anyway, the park in general is a community. It's not it's a city, but we are really community based here. We're small. I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know. This is a unique area. We've been fortunate over the years to have outstanding, intelligent, open-minded people on this council as our mayor, on all of our commissions, our city employees. Very fortunate. I understand the need sometimes that we have to outsource our services. When you have talent right in your backyard, I don't know why we wouldn't try to retain that. Love the city of Avondale and Goodyear, done lots of work with them also, but I've known Judge Ring almost the entire time I've lived here. He's one of the first people I go to for advice on any and all matters, because I know I'm going to get straightforward, brutally honest opinions. He's never just told me what I wanted to hear. A lot of you here have given me advice, and you know, I'm a handful, but I just appreciate just the honesty, friendship aside, okay? So Judge Ring is uniquely qualified to represent the city. He is an asset. He's level-headed, he's honest, he's fair, and by all counts, he's a great judge. He's deeply committed to this community. He's a resident, longtime resident. He and his family have given back to this community time and time again. I would ask that you think long and hard as a small municipality, as a community, with limited resources, to circle the wagons when we can and retain what is special about Litchfield Park. That guy is a resource. That guy is special. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next request is on the same topic by Thomas Gale.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, all the guests that are present. I wish to voice some concerns regarding this proposal to contract the office of the Municipal Court of Litchfield Park to the City of Avondale. Regarding the explanation provided in the agenda, I believe that it oversimplifies the function of our current magistrate court, stating, quote, "To be clear, Litchfield Park citizens come to our City Hall to pay citations," unquote, without mentioning the fact that indeed virtually all of our citizens' business and transactions with the municipal court, with the one exception of appearing in person in front of the current magistrate, now take place simply and conveniently in our existing City Hall. Arranging driving classes, setting up payment schedules, obtaining answers to procedural questions, help in navigating the sometimes complex procedures, scheduling appearances, and more are all now handled by the more than capable court administrator at our own local City Hall. This multitude of services would be lost to us locally and would ostensibly be handled by Avondale staff almost 7 miles, 14 miles round trip, and according to Google, 25 minutes, 50 minutes round trip from our current service location. In my opinion, the most egregious loss to the residents of Litchfield Park, if we enter into this IGA, is that of having the court administrator and city magistrate who are both intimately familiar with the structure, function, and character of Litchfield Park. As locals, they come with an intrinsic understanding of the unique and special nature of the park and inform their decision-making with the special nature of our unique community. Quoting from the agenda again, it states, quote, "The city is prosecuting more code enforcement cases than in past years," unquote. Would it not be especially advantageous to have just such cases processed and adjudicated by persons who live right here and not only personally understand, but live with the zoning decisions they make? The primary reason for this move is given by the proposal to be one of cost savings for the city. But in the cost estimate provided, there is no mention of what I believe might be hidden costs. First of all, the court-related forms, many printed on expensive 3-part NCR paper, would have to be scrapped and updated with the new Avondale Court location and contact information at what I believe to be a considerable cost, not reflected in the agenda cost summary. Secondly, the estimated savings make no mention of the cost of providing the promised severance benefits for the court administrator or the current magistrate. Additionally, in the estimated costs, no mention is made of the cost of providing a public defender as required by law. I believe that these stated additional costs alone will largely offset the, quote, savings, unquote, stated in the agenda item. But what about future costs? What guarantees do we, the citizens, have that the cost of this intergovernmental agreement will not balloon out of sight as years go by? By abdicating our control over the administration of justice and ceding to a third party, we have no protections against spiraling costs. And since it will be very difficult, if not nearly impossible, undertaking to try and reel back these sweeping changes once our local magistrate court is disbanded, we will be stuck paying potentially inflated costs in the future, as we cannot choose to just eliminate the court if the cost becomes too high. Lastly, it appears that a major motivation for this suggested IGA is the prospect of eliminating a now inconvenient portable outbuilding that potentially sits in the way of developing one of the parcels of the vaunted city center. Ostensibly, the small office that is currently occupied by the magistrate court administrator will become vacant, and the occupants of the outbuilding could be moved into that vacated space. But not only is that space minimally suitable, as it is quite small, but I'm sure those people could easily be relocated to some of the close proximity vacant office space, giving them a comfortable, convenient, and cost-effective workspace, given the savings anticipated when the outbuilding is removed. For those reasons, I believe it is not a good idea to give up local oversight, control, and budgeting of such an important and necessary local function, that of our magistrate court. It will put officials who have no stake or particular interest in the uniqueness of Litchfield Park in charge of making decisions that affect our city and our homes, and puts us at risk of unpredictable cost increases, or worse, the sudden dissolution of the IGA at the whim of outside parties. I ask the council to vote no on this intergovernmental agreement. My name is Tom Gall. I live at 760 East Fairway Drive, and I've lived here for 33 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person who's asked to speak on this item is Craig Ring.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. A couple points that I'd like to make. I know we talked about some of these things last meeting, so I'm not going to rehash those items except for just one. And that is the diminution of customer services. I had told you last month that the Avondale Court is not open on Fridays. So it makes it more difficult for people to come in and conduct their business. But I also found out this week that they don't take phone call payments for any fines or restitution or any monetary transactions. So the people have to actually come in person to make these kind of transactions. Currently, our court accepts phone call payments. We're equipped to deal with that. We take credit cards over the phone, and it's much more convenient. We would lose that aspect of convenience if it goes to the city of Avondale. But the main two things are, as has been expressed before, there's really two apparent driving factors. One, money. Two, space. I think we've already heard how the estimate of the cost savings is probably inaccurate. The cost savings is going to be much less than that, especially in the first year. So let's move on to space. We've heard the need to find alternate housing or quarters, workspaces for the 3 employees in the trailer behind the city hall. And I certainly appreciate the situation. I empathize with that, and this is the problem. But I don't believe the solution is to eliminate the court for office space. There are other solutions to provide office space. And just this week, on Monday, the city manager, the assistant city manager, and I toured one of those office spaces. It's very close to City Hall, less than 100 yards away, within easy walking distance, right around the corner from Park Cafe is office space that is available. More than one, should we want that? So it actually creates some options. One option would be to move the court's office, and I do want to talk about that. I think there might be some misconceptions on how the court works. Think of the court as an iceberg. The top of the iceberg is when people actually appear in front of me and conduct business inside the courtroom. The vast majority of the court business takes place at the court office. That would be the part of the iceberg that you don't see underwater. And like an iceberg, it's about 90% of what the court does. So For that office space, I said that we toured and looked at available office space very near, very close to City Hall that could be used in one of two ways. Either the court office could move, opening up that space for the people that are in the trailer, or two, the people in the trailer could go to that space. Either way. If the court moves, there would be some costs involved with that. There would need to be a security wall with a bulletproof window for Sherry to sit behind. So that would have to be built. That is true. There is a cost. Although we don't know what that cost is. We have no real basis for that. We have no idea what that cost is. In discussion with the city manager and the assistant city manager, they kind of ballparked the idea of $25,000, but it's based on nothing. It's pulled out of just thin air. There is no basis for that. We really have no estimates, no bids, no plans, no measurements, no design, nothing to support that. That's just a guess, a wild guess and nothing more. So what I would like to do and propose is that we table this item to get some actual data. What would this cost? What would it actually be with a little bit more flesh and blood involved and some basis for what that cost estimate would be? So I think this is a viable solution. It would keep the court in Litchfield Park. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. It solves the problem of the people that are then in the trailer. It keeps the court in Litchfield Park, and I don't think it would be an undue cost. I think it would be rather minimal, especially if spread out over several years. So, thank you for your consideration. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. All right, do we have a staff presentation on this item?
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, first of all, I would like to caution you. As you know, we've discussed this several times in executive session, and it's easy to fall back and say, remember when we talked about this? Don't. It's too easy to refer to that, so you can remember it, but don't bring it up in our questions, please. I would also like to say thank you, Judge Ring, for being here with us tonight. I would like to thank him for his 20 years of service, and also to our court administrator for 20 years of service. Judge Ring is right. He came and visited us with us Monday morning, and we did go look in the office space. We had a nice visit. We discussed that, and I'll get more into that as we go down. There are several reasons for doing this. One is that, as you know, Avondale PD is our contracted police force. Court and PD go hand in hand. Two, that our citizens are already going to Avondale for court. It's been said that people come into our court office and they pay fines, fees, various things. That is true. But if you're going to appear before Judge Ring, you're already going to Avondale anyway. Along those same lines, we know from the numbers we ran that only 8% of court business are city residents. 92% of court business are people that don't live in the city. There are people that are driving through, people on our roads, people on Camelback, Litchfield, you get the idea. Non-city residents, I think that's important. Also, when you're going to court, I'm sorry, but you're going there for a reason. You broke the law, you're going to court for a reason. Several other things. So when we looked at court efficiency cost, and what I mean by that, it's a pretty simple calculation. When you take the annual court budget and you divide it by the number of court cases, it gives you an average cost per case. Obviously, it's an average, right? Some cases cost more than others. But we did those calculations based off the numbers that I got from Avondale and the numbers that our court staff gave us. A case in Litchfield Park cost you $992 per case. A case in Avondale costs you $282 per case. And that's mainly why, because we have such a small court, we have such a small case load, but we still have to have the staff to manage that. But again, $282 in Avondale, $992 in Litchfield Park. If we choose to contract this, our court business is so small that it would only be 2.5% of the Avondale court business. So again, that helps you show the difference in the cost too, that it's such a small percentage of their caseload. It's been said the main two reasons are because of cost and because of space. And both those things are very much true. Staff estimates this would save $50,000 a year. That is true. But one thing you should consider, and that's very much true, is that the severance for the existing employees. I'm not going to say exactly how much it would be because I don't think that's appropriate, but the court employee would get paid out per HR policy for 20 weeks because the employee's been here 20 years. 1 week of service per year, that is HR policy. So that severance amount would be for, again, 20 weeks of pay. The employee would also be paid out for whatever accrued vacation or sick per HR policy they have at that time, right? It would depend, it's different today than it would be June 30th. The judge is contracted, so he would not be paid out any accrued vacation or sick, but we would recommend that he be given the same 20 weeks of severance pay because he's also been our judge for 20 years. One thing to be aware of there, he is a part-time judge, a part-time position, so it would be less money than our court administrator is. I'm not trying to dodge around what the number is. I just don't think that should be public information. I'm glad to provide it to you privately if that's something you would like to know. Okay. So that's one thing. And very much so, again, there is the space. We are busting at the seams. We're adding more staff as the city grows and changes. It's much been said about the public works trailer. That is true. That trailer needs to go away and those employees need to come into City Hall. Eventually, one day you'll have a new public works building that will help, but you're not there yet. That trailer needs to go away for the possible development of those parcels 13 and 14, as you saw on the map earlier. And this would solve that. Staff has laid this out. We know that making this change, we can move our staff into City Hall and it works. It will be tight. Don't get me wrong, it'll be tight, but it does work. Okay. So again, you've got your two reasons of cost and space. Again, I said Judge Ring went with us and we had a nice visit when we looked at the office. That is something you could do. You could choose to lease that office. It's about 5 or 6 offices, and we could use one of the offices for court and sublease out the other 4 or 5. I would tell you, I think that would be a hard sell. I don't think you're going to have much luck leasing out offices beside a city court office once people hear about bulletproof glass and that sort of thing, just to be honest. Okay. But another option would be that Judge Ring brought up would be that instead you could keep court where it is today and move, say, planning, engineering, whatever department in there. That is something you could do. That's true, right? That would work. And it would certainly give staff more space. And just to be honest, it would be a nicer office space than what we have now. But again, it's the cost. One thing I would tell you also is that you can use the court enhancement funds to move the court in there. You cannot use court enhancement funds to move public works or any other city department in there. That's court money. So you can only use it for court expenses. But as I told Judge Ring, while it's true that you could pay for the court office to move in there with court enhancement funds, you could also use that money to pay the Avondale court contract. Either way, it's a court expense. I told Judge Ring Monday I like to be upfront and honest with people. In my opinion, I don't think it makes financial sense to lease the office. As you know, you have an option to go with Avondale for $145. Our court budget this year is $241. It will be more next year. Budgets are going up. So right there, again, after prosecutor, so the reason it's not $100,000 instead of the 50 savings is because there's other savings that was said, so that's true. And again, those first year savings you're going to spend on your severance packages, no question. So there's that. Again, there's the cost, but just to me, just to be honest, just to be straight about it, I couldn't, as a manager, I couldn't recommend that we pay more to keep our court where it is and move staff and pay more on top of the 240 when we could save money by moving to Avondale. Especially when people are already going there for court, especially when we know that it's only 8% city resident. That's nothing against our court administrator or against our judge. I don't think it makes financial sense, and I couldn't recommend for you guys to do that. So again, I think it's a matter of space, it's a matter of cost. And again, no matter what we do, I think Judge Ring for his years of service and also for our court administrator for her years of service. I welcome any questions if there are any at this time.
Questions from council? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a few. Mr. City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
I relayed this concern to the mayor who related to you and you researched it. I just want to put it on the record. I have a concern that the agenda item that we have here does not advise the public in any way that we're talking about the court. It says that we're talking about Avondale City Services, which could be the police department, the fire department, it could be streets, roads, joint contracts, nothing. So anybody seeing the posted agenda wouldn't have any idea that the court matter is what we're talking about. And that concerns me. And that's going to relate to you, and I think you have a response.
Yes, sir. Yes, Vice Mayor, Mayor, council members. Yeah, the agenda is sufficient enough. Could it be clearer? Yes, but it meets the minimum requirements. In addition to the fact that it addresses the IGA for city services, the council communication is attached to the agenda. The IGA is attached to the agenda. The online agenda specifically lists the attachments, and the Avondale Court IGA is listed as one of the attachments for the online agenda. So anybody who goes to pull up the online agenda will see that it will say item B, approval of Avondale Services IGA, discussion and possible action to approve the Avondale City Services IGA attachments, traffic violations 2024, Avondale Court IGA. In addition, the IGA is attached, so it meets the legal requirements for what is necessary to provide the public with minimum notice requirements.
Thank you. May I continue?
Yes, please.
Well, city manager, when do you need that trailer moved by? We're negotiating with a possible developer with nothing signed, nothing done, who, even if we approved it tonight, probably couldn't start construction for a significant period of time. I'm looking at prior history as to how long it's taken us to get to a construction stage, which we have not yet done with the previous two. It seems to me that we're talking a year before that trailer needs to be removed. Is that?
You very well could be, Mr. Vice Mayor. We don't know. It could be 6 months, it could be a year. We are hoping that the developer's conceptual plans come to DRB in April, but certainly a DA would be after that, as you know.
Right.
And yes, certainly, I certainly hope that future developments don't take as long as the first one has.
We keep hoping that.
But no, sir, I couldn't give you the exact date this time.
So we don't know when we're gonna need
No, sir.
the spacing. I mean, it could be a year, it could be years if this developer falls out for some reason.
Could be,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. The cost savings. Is it fair to say that what you've analyzed to be the cost savings per year, there would be no cost savings in the first year because of what we have to pay to buy out the employees that
That's
we're
correct.
offering
That's
to?
absolutely correct. I would tell you probably 20% of the next year as well.
Okay, so.
But again, those are one-time costs, of course.
Yes, yeah, it's gonna take more than a year before we see the quote unquote break even.
Yes, sir, it would.
If our guesstimates on the cost savings are correct.
That's correct, sir.
Basically, okay. I've been sitting here a long time, and I gotta commend the judge. When I came on this council, Judge Ring was not the judge. And we had a mess that the Arizona Supreme Court wasn't happy about. And this goes back 35 years ago to a Supreme Court decision that said that we do not have the ability to control the court other than maybe the purse strings in it, but there's a separation of powers doctrine here. And the Supreme Court eventually stepped in to clean up what was across the state an unsatisfactory situation as to how all the minor courts were being operated. There was no uniformity. There was even constitutional issues with the way some of the things were being handled. And our court was one of them that was not being handled properly. And since Judge Ring came on board with a cleanup mess to handle, I've not had a complaint. Our court has run and operated very well. Every year we get something for Paige for the finance, that shows that we've done all of our audits and we've processed all of our accounting correctly. And I think the court probably does that too, but through some kind of audit procedure. But those drums are not really beat. I don't think that gets really up to our level to do presentations and to see what's going on. But I think we've passed with flying colors all of those audits, reports, investigations. So I'm not entirely convinced of the savings. I'm concerned about changing something that's working, and it's been working very well, as I can see. I may change my mind someday, but for now, I've got a hard time backing this. Thank you.
No, we need to wait.
I'm saying, thank you, I'm done. Yeah,
Done?
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry,
I'm
Councilman.
sorry.
Councilman.
No, that's
I just wanted to ask a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It seems like this is an opportunity for the city to streamline its services and become and operate more efficiently. Is that your opinion?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And then also, it seems like this is an opportunity for us to be fiscally responsible in the long term. Is that also your opinion?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
That's all I have.
Questions? Councilman Clare?
So Matthew, the savings that we're projecting, and if everything hits target, best case scenario is 15 months of payout for severance. So we're talking about a 2-year term, whether we go to Avondale or whether we renew Judge Ring, we're talking about a 2-year commitment to either side, correct? So
Yes, sir. The first IG, yes, sir.
so fiscal responsibility, we would be talking about potential best case scenario if we hit targets, right, of 9 months of savings at the projected savings that were there over a 2-year period. So we're talking roughly a $35,000 savings over a 2-year period to take services from being convenient to our local municipality to send them elsewhere, even though they have to report in Avondale, even though we have Avondale PD as the policing department. We are removing, another thing we're removing from our own control, not that we have control of the judgeship, but we do have control of where it happens, and that would be for our residents. I think we have so many irons in the fire. We have the library, we have all the stuff that we're talking, we have the school, we have all these, finishing up Litchfield Square, all these other things happening. We don't need to just upset something else just because. Understand that we need space and we're bursting at the seams. That's conversations that we've had multiple times. We need to plan for that and get space somewhere. The facilities need to be updated. We need to have the ability of having great work environment. You talked about we can't pay as much as other cities for certain things. Part of what you do when you don't have that is you give better benefits, you give better workspace, you give better care and culture. So those are emotional paychecks that you're able to give and take care of your staff in a right way. And I think you do a good job in the majority of those things. But I think it's important that we maintain Litchfield as Litchfield. And part of that is not outsourcing absolutely everything for a $35,000 savings over a 2-year window. If we go into this and we do need the project and we need the space, we're talking 9 months to a year away, then we can make a decision to, on the next term, to do something else. This gives us time also, if we table this for a month, we'd have time to evaluate the cost of either putting other staff in an outside space or taking the court and using court enhancement fees to do something with that. Funds that we can't use otherwise, right? The court enhancement fees have to be used for court costs. So they're just sitting there. So I just personally feel at this point that it's not worth the potential savings that we have. I believe in being fiscally responsible. But when I look at $30,000 over a 2-year window, when we pay out everything that we're paying out, the risk that we're taking on, everything else that's happening right now, it doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Councilmember Claire. If you don't mind, a few comments. One, I would say whatever council decides to do, I would ask that you decide tonight. Because we need to let Avondale know so they can plan accordingly, because they're working on their budget process too. They need to know. And she's up to her eyeballs in budgets like she is as well. So whatever you decide to do, if you could decide tonight, that would be preferred. As far as the savings go, it would take it probably 14 to 15 months to make back your money that you're paying severance. But I would say that's one time. And after that, yes, sir, you would make about a $35,000 savings the second year. That's right, because of severance. But after that, you're making more than that ongoing. And the severance is a one-time. I think that's an important caveat. I know too that council had a concern. I don't know how I want to word this. We want to make sure we treat our citizens properly. I've had this discussion with Avondale City Manager about just that we want, and I know that he's been involved, he's done this before too in a previous city, Northern Arizona. You guys may remember early on when we brought Avondale PD, there was an incident where we felt like a resident was treated a little rougher than they needed to be. But that was just a conversation with Avondale. It's like, we want to treat our residents a certain way. And after that, it fixed it. And I would tell you that I would think it would be the same way with court too. If there was an issue, I think that would be a discussion we could have. Not that that's a concern anybody's raised tonight, I've just started before.
Just a quick counter back to what you said. Agreed. What we're talking about in the savings is in a 2-year window. The reason I use 2-year window is that is the term we're looking to sign, whether it's with Avondale or with Judge Ring. And that would be a reevaluation point in my mind, that we'd be able to come back.
That's true, sir.
And we would not have, more than likely at that point, we would not have that severance fees be associated with this transition.
Right. During the 2-year window, you wouldn't have it. Just a couple of things I want to say about the comments you made, Councilman Claire, and then I'll recognize you, Vice Mayor. First, I want to start with a question of, if you're going to rent office space in the area by Papa Falls, is that renting one office or 5 offices? Do you have the option just to rent one?
No, sir, I could be wrong. It's my understanding that you'd have to lease the whole space and use the one that you want to use and sublease the rest.
What's the cost for the whole space?
The whole thing is $6,000 a month, sir.
So 72,000 a year?
That's correct, sir. But we think the court would use one office, and we think one office would be about $1,200 a month. That was a number that Judge Ring and I agreed on, sir.
And so if we were able to lease it out, it would be less, but it could be $72,000 increase in cost rather than any some sort of cost savings. And I appreciate the concern that we maintain standards for Litchfield Park residents. So many of the things that we decide upon and so many of the decisions are driven entirely by the experience of our residents. In this case, the experience in a year is less than 1% of our residents go through the court, less than 1%. So it is a very, well, certainly every individual resident is significant. It's not as 1%, less than 1% of our residents is not a significant number being impacted to justify potentially. It's not, instead of trying to save 50,000, we spend an extra 70,000. And the benefit is going to just a very few people. I mean, it's literally less than 60 people a year. So it puts it in the light that it's, that to me, it is important that we conduct all of the areas of our business in a very efficient and in the most efficient way that we can. And we spend every dime of our taxpayers' money in the most efficient way that gives us the outcome that we need. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I just, dumb question. This building here, there was offices in this building, I thought, that Tina was in once upon a time.
Right.
What happened to those offices? Aren't they back? I don't know this building. Aren't they back in here?
It's literally right here, sir.
What's in there now?
Nothing. Part of the moving people into City Hall service, I would put one of our employees over here. I would have to.
Why isn't this space being used? I mean, It wasn't, aren't there offices back?
Well, they're still,
over there
they're
somewhere?
still using those.
Okay, there are offices over there.
Yes,
somewhere.
sir, but library staff is still using those. This one was Tina's office right here,
Okay.
and they're using it for storage currently. So when we bring staff into City Hall, we would probably have to use this one as well.
How big is it?
It's a good size office. It'd be good for one person. We have somebody lined up that I think would be good for that, but I wouldn't want to say who it is.
It's not me.
It's not Joe.
It's gonna work out of his car. Oh, there you go. Mayor's got an office, you know, take it away from him.
I mentioned to Matthew, one of the reasons why this was being brought forward to council at this time is because of the contract time period. And I know that the timing has been mentioned a number of times. If you go with the Avondale, it's a 2-year IGA. Same thing with if you renew the court contract, it's 2 years. Those 2 years, you would not be able to make these adjustments if you needed to. A year down the road, if you needed to, you would have to fulfill that 2-year contract with the court.
Right, it's a 2-year contract with Avondale or a 2-year contract with Judge Ring, starting in July.
Correct.
Okay, any more comments or questions? Anything from Councilman James or Councilman Rainer Watson?
No, sir.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to, my thought has been that we have capitalized on farming our services out because we cannot reach economies of scale being a small city. And I think that that has been very judicious in our management of our police protection and our fire protection. And it's a difficult position to be in, but I think that that is the best use of our taxpayers' money to make sure that we're using it judiciously and taking advantage of economies of scale where they exist, and when they don't, finding a creative solution. And that's basically all I have right now.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? Is there a motion to approve the Avondale City Services IGA for court services?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All right, probably it'd be simpler with the people on the Zoom call to do this by roll call.
Yes, sir.
Can you move the microphone so they can hear me? Mayor Schultz,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faith,
Nah.
Councilmember Brainerd Watson,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire,
Nay.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier,
Aye.
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes on a vote of 5-2. Next item of business is a public hearing on a sign code text amendment. Call the public hearing to order. Is there a staff presentation?
That emptied us out. That emptied us out.
I can get down to the hardcore now.
But he wants to talk about signs.
Yeah, none of us, we've all been through this a couple of times, so none of us want to, including Mr. Porch.
Mayor, members of council, Randy Proch, your planning director, there's 2 items for adoption this evening. First is the sign code. I'd be happy to go through this presentation once more for the benefit of those considering the adoption tonight. The same goes for the allowable uses. Just to remind council, the Sign code changes are to come into federal compliance with some changes as far as content neutrality, First Amendment concern, as well as some cleanup options that have been vetted through our Planning and Zoning Commission and through City Council, as well as a legal review. So if it is the mayor's decision, I can certainly go through a presentation. Otherwise, I'd entertain any questions ahead of any sort of adoption.
I would think that we've been through this probably enough that we can just look at questions. Are there questions from the council? No? No? Mr. Vice Mayor. Questions from Councilman James or Councilman Brainerd Watson?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. That would take us into any public comments on the sign code text amendment. Are there any public comments on the text amendment? Seeing no public comments, I'd say declare the public hearing closed. Takes us to an item of business for considering adoption of ordinance 24-286 sign code text amendment. Is there any discussion about this proposed or adoption of this ordinance? Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 24-286? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any discussion from those on the Zoom call? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 24-286?
Mayor,
We have to do this by roll call.
Mayor Shelf,
Yes, aye.
Vice Mayor Faith,
Aye.
Councilmember Brainerd Watson,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier,
Aye.
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
Here's the ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. This brings us to item E on the agenda for business public hearing on allowable uses text amendment. Declare the public hearing open. Is there a staff report or is it questions only?
Mayor, members of council, the allowable uses is, again, once more, some cleanup items related to development pressures within Litchfield Square and within the La Loma restoration, specifically regarding the use of condominiums within Litchfield Square is currently not on the books as a permitted use, and we do have development interest in condos within Litchfield Square. And of course, the school use on La Loma Hilltop is not currently a permitted use. This would fix that, along with some other staff-led cleanup items that have been through legal review with our attorney, that we do ask for your consideration on adoption of this item as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council? Questions from Councilman James or Brainerd Watson? Okay, then that brings us to a public comment. Any public comments on the allowable uses text amendment? All right, public hearing is closed. Takes us to item number F, adoption of ordinance 25-290, allowable uses text amendment. Is there any discussion of that ordinance before we take a motion? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt ordinance 25-290?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor Shelf,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Faith,
Aye.
Councilmember Brainerd Watson,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier,
Aye.
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
Adoption, ordinance number 25-290 is adopted. This item G on the agenda, adoption of ordinance 25-289, public improvement cost recovery.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there any questions or discussion on this ordinance, which we have also covered in great detail? Seeing none, all those in, well, we can't do all those in favor. We're gonna do a roll call.
Mayor Shelf, Vice Mayor Faith,
Aye.
Councilmember Brainerd Watson,
Aye.
Councilmember Claire,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier,
Aye.
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
the ordinance 25-289 is adopted. This brings us to items H and I. There is a need for an executive session on these items. It is my suspicion that nothing will happen after we have the executive session other than to table these items. But if anyone here wants to stick around until after the executive session, you're welcome to do so. Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor?
I have a conflict on I, so I will not participate.
Okay. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? All right, we are moving into executive session.
Mayor, just so the record's clear, that executive session would include item C on the executive session.
Items A,
B, and C
B, and C.
as well,
Yeah, A, B, and C.
with regard to the MAG and exponent traffic study.
Yeah,
So,
it will include,
yes.
yes. Do we need to make the motion?
No, just so the record's clear, we're gonna do all executive session items at one time.
Correct. Mr. City Attorney, you read my mind. Thank you. All right, so we're in executive session. Put it back in. We're good? Okay, item 10H,
Think this thing did anything? Or did you shut it?
the Heritage Partner Development Agreement. Is there a motion to table that until 4/2?
Got a pretty picture.
So moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, item H is tabled until 4/2. On 10I, is there a motion to approve the second amendment to the reciprocal parking agreement to move the 80 parking spaces within Litchfield Square? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. We had a conflict declared by the vice mayor, so he did not participate. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I didn't hear that. There was no conviction in that. Is there a motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. We're adjourned.
Aye.
Oh, now we're adjourned.